That doesn't sound like a recession to me. Thank you very much.
President Biden and his administration continue the war on words. Recession has been defined as a decline in GDP in 2 successive quarters for decades. Now that we've officially seen a tumble for the second consecutive quarter, we're in a recession, right?
I don't like that word.
As Bloomberg points out, Biden team's take on technical recession, it's not real. Here's National Economic Council Director Brian Deese.
2 negative quarters of GDP growth is not the technical definition of recession. It's not the definition that economists have traditionally relied on.
But it appears Deese is arguing with himself.
What the hell are you doing?
Because he said the exact opposite in 2008.
That is not the definition.
Brian Deese said in 2008, of course, economists have a technical definition, which is of a recession, which is 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth.
But big media gleefully plays along, ignoring that by the technical definition, we are now in a recession. Instead, the propaganda puppets PR team all use the term recession fears, which is really strange because they seemed fine with the widely accepted definition before until it made the current administration look bad.
A recession is just 2 consecutive quarters of economic decline.
When we talk about the possibility of a recession, what is a recession? A recession is 2 consecutive quarters.
2 consecutive quarters.
2 consecutive quarters. 2 consecutive quarters of declining GDP.
Here's how the Associated Press plays cover. The decline reported Thursday in the gross domestic product followed a 1.6% annual drop from January through March. Consecutive quarters of falling GDP constitute one informal, though not definitive, indicator of a recession. Now compare that with how the AP described recession in May and June of 2013. A recession is defined as 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. Same thing in October of 2020. And oh look, even earlier this year, Mexico's economy entered a technical recession at the end of last year with 2 consecutive quarters of contraction. Not to be outdone, Politico now bends its previously held definition of recession.
Turns out we're insane. We're hallucinating, Lucy in the sky with diamonds stuff. And the media have confirmed it. This is from Politico. Quote, the White House is pretty obviously right that even 2 quarters of shrinking GDP would not show the economy is currently in recession. That's the word from Ben White, who is the chief economics reporter at Politico. That's June 22nd of this year. This same Ben White, assuming he's real, wrote in Politico, which unfortunately is, and we're quoting, I'm sorry to report that the conditions are ripe for a slide in gross domestic product growth that lasts at least 2 quarters, comma, the technical definition of recession. Ooh, Ben White. Could that be the same Ben White, the same Politico? Could be.
Wikipedia editors are getting in on the game, trying to match the Biden redefined game. No, we are not in a recession. Everything is great. Don't you feel it?
A recession is broad-based weakness in the economy. We're not seeing that now.
In your view, is a recession in the United States inevitable?
No.
Typically, economists date a recession as being at least 2 quarters of negative growth and other factors, which we have not seen at all.
You sit on a throne of lies.
But this is nothing new. These same posers refuse to define woman.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition? No.
Yeah.
I can't.
They changed the definition of female, changed the definition of vaccine, and they see how well denying inflation went, going from temporary to transitory until finally...
I was wrong then about the path that inflation would take. As I mentioned, there have been unanticipated and large shocks to the economy.
So Janet Yellen was wrong on inflation, but we're expected to believe her now that she says we are not in a recession. It didn't work the first time, but they sure do love the word transition.
We're seeing what we're seeing is that we are in a transition. We had this strong economic growth because of the work that this president has done in the past 18 months.
In other news, fact checkers like to point out Donald Trump did not order the use of National Guard troops on January 6. Epoch Times agrees. Former Pentagon Chief of Staff Kash Patel says that would have been a violation of the law. Rather, the former president authorized up to 20,000 National Guard troops for use, but the use of those troops was later rejected by D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser and the U.S. Capitol Police. So the D.C. mayor didn't want National Guard for January 6th, but she does want the National Guard activated to deal with a flood of illegal immigrants in the city. So she's fine with the flooding of the borders, just not in her backyard.
So what Republicans are doing, the way that they're meddling in the process and using migrants as a political pawn is just wrong.
So the White House's preference would be for small towns in Texas and Arizona to have to take care of these migrants rather than a large metropolitan city like Washington, D.C.
That is not what I said.
That is what you said.
That
You
is
said
not.
you think that
I
people
said
are
that
using
there is.
migrants.
Yeah, they are. They're sending migrants to big cities on purpose,
So
using them as a political ploy.
So if they don't go to big cities, where should they
There's
go?
a process. I just laid it out.
There's a process, and they come to a big city, and now the mayor says she needs the National Guard.
Bringing you what's ignored, sensationalized, misleading, or just plain false, I'm Christy Lee. And that's your Media Malfeasance for the week.